Do you want to create infographics that are visually stunning and informative? In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to use Photoshop to create professionally looking infographics that will engage your audience and get your messages across. So the first thing we want to do is to create a project, and I'm going to be creating a 19.2 by 10.8 centimeters project with a resolution of 300 pixels. Once that is done, next thing I want to do is to create my background. So I'll just apply a gradient background to this. I like this gray color. And the next thing I want to do is to bring in the phone image which I used for this design. This is a phone image which I used, and I downloaded this phone image from freepik.com, so you can check that out. Now I go now to the project file we've created, and I just place the phone there. The next thing is to design these arrows. So we are going to be using a lot of shapes and gradients. So if you have not watched my videos on how to use the shape tool and how to use gradients, I'll advise you to watch them. I'm going to be leaving the links to the videos in the description and even on your screen. Okay, so let's go to designing these shapes. The very first thing I did was I selected my shape tool, rectangular shape tool, and with the rectangular shape tool I drew a rectangle like this. Let me zoom in so you can see. I drew this rectangle, and after drawing this rectangle I had to warp it. So to do that, you go to Ctrl T, that's for transform, right click, and you click on warp. I also did another video on the free transform tool. You can watch that as well. So once I click on that, I just use these buttons here to modify the shape a little, and I think I like the way it looks. I just need to reduce it from the side a little like this, and we are good to go. The next thing is to create the curve, this curvy part, like the shadow that goes around the image. So I will create that using the pen tool. So I'll just select my pen tool, make sure the settings here is on shape, and now I draw a curve around these points like this, curve it like that, and I enclose it like this. Once that is done, I'll take it behind, send it to the back. You can duplicate the layer using Command J on my keyboard, and then I flip it vertically, and I move it below so it stands here. So now you may not understand what I'm doing, but when I begin to add the shadows, you would see how it looks. Okay, so that is it. Now to make it look real, we are going to be adding shadows. This part has to go behind the phone, so we'll place it behind the phone like that. So we have it going from behind the phone and continuing in front. So the first thing we want to do is to create our gradient. So we are going to pick a bluish color, which we are going to be using to create our gradient. So we are going to apply gradients on each of these shapes that we have created. So the very first shape we are going to be applying the gradient on is this one. So we click on this, double click, go to the layer styles panel, then we click on gradient overlay. Once gradient overlay is activated, the next thing you want to do is change your color. So if you have not watched my video on gradients, I highly recommend that video. You can go back and watch that video. So once I choose that color, I'll come up here, double click, and I choose the same color, but now under saturation I desaturate it like this. We have a desaturated version of that same color. Okay, then I'll go to my scale adjust the angle, then I go to scale, I scale it up a little. So if you're not happy with that color, maybe I may want to darken the blue a little. Go to hue, I bring down this blue like this, then I go to this one. I also have to choose another blue, yeah, something like this. That's perfect. Then the next thing I have to do now is to work on this so that it appears like there's a shadow here. How am I going to do that? I just select that layer, and I'm also going to apply a gradient to it. So this layer too has to be behind the phone. So I'll take it behind. Okay, so I go to this layer, double click, go to gradient overlay, and I apply. You see the very gradient that was here has been applied to it, and I don't need to do much on it again. Then I come to this other one, double click, gradient overlay, and it has applied the same gradient nicely. So all I need to do now is to create the extension, this part. So how do I do that? I still go back to my shape tool, make sure it's behind the phone. Okay, create a new layer, and I draw like this, something like this. Doesn't need to be too big, something like this. Then for the pointed head, the arrowhead, I'm just going to select this polygon tool, and I make sure the sides here are 3. So I click again, draw. The polygon tool draw a 3-sided shape for me to use, which is like a rectangle, and all I need to do now is to rotate it 90 degrees, Ctrl C, rotate, and then I reduce the size. Once the size is reduced to a satisfactory level, I leave it there. So at this point, I'm going to match the two shapes together. Before doing that, make sure that they overlap very well, like this. So you can also increase the size. Okay, once that is done, I select the two layers, right click, merge shape. So once it is merged, I just go to gradient overlay, and layer styles, I click on gradient overlay, and you see it has already applied the same gradient. So in this case, I'll just flip the angle a little. I just play with the angle a little to see what I can make out of this. I think the angle is good the way it was, though there should be some shadow from this side. So I can open this tool and then modify this a little to about this point. Take this way so that the transition is softer, and I take OK. Now see, okay, and that is good. So what I have to do now is just to create a duplicate of these layers. the third arrow. So we go through the same process again. Identify this one, Ctrl J. So now all I need to do is just to group everything. Ctrl J. If you enjoyed this video, please do well to support me by liking the video. If you have a question, you can drop it at the comment section. Subscribe to my channel, click on the notification bell so that when I release my next video, you are going to be updated. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.